I feel Cosmos, we had too many unique theses, and that made it hard to execute well on any of them. No one's really cracked the cross-chain swaps, like multi-ecosystem cross-chain swaps.
Yeah.
UX, and so that's what we're trying to solve. And a lot of that. Remember Sunnybot?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I was doing this like 4 years ago.
Update Sunnybot to GPT-4.
Yeah, the Sunnybot was built using GPT-2.
Yeah.
Like before GPT was like a thing. That was pre-Chat GPT.
All right, so I'm here with Sunny Aggarwal. Needs no introduction, but deserves one. But everybody knows who Sunny is, so thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day.
Yep.
I'm sure you've been running around like meetings and getting accosted by random people because you're
had a lot of that
as of your public profile as an important person in the Cosmos ecosystem, I'd say.
Am I the top guest on Interop?
The top guest,
Like by number of episodes?
On number of episodes, good question. I've had a couple of repeats. I don't think this may put you in the top. Yeah, so
Nice.
three, maybe it's three. I think they've been on 2-3 times. Yeah, actually, if you count like the Cosmoverse from last year,
Yeah.
this kind of side stuff we did together, then probably.
Nice.
Yeah, so you get an honor badge. I'll mint an NFT for you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I've been like having a lot of dudes on this couch in this week, and we've been talking about a lot of things, and a lot of different topics have come up, and so this is sort of at the end of the week, so a lot of my thoughts have codified, and I want to share them with you and see if they resonate, and maybe get some validation on whether or not, vibes are real, or whether or not I'm thinking right about this. So one thing is, one of the things that's been coming up time and time again is that this Cosmoverse feels different from the other ones, whereas people are focused. There is a sense that, it's kind of the bottom of the Cosmos bear, and whatever's left is people who are really building really important things in terms of infrastructure, and that we have a renewed sense of purpose that perhaps we had lost over the last couple of years. That's one thing. The other is that Cosmos is the innovation factory or the infrastructure factory for the rest of crypto. So we pump out infrastructure, or at least infrastructure ideas, and other blockchains go and do it. Now, does that make us any richer? Probably not in the short term, but perhaps in the long term. And I think there's a sense that we need to focus on the long term, and that means probably building products that people actually want to use. And then there's a bunch of other stuff I'm sure we'll get to, but
can I get my thoughts on that?
Yeah, let's park that on that for a sec.
Yeah, I think I was chatting with Yorgos from Paradigm about this as well, and I think one interesting, maybe my one take I have on this is I was reading some blog post, some startup like blog or something. I forgot which one it was, but it was basically like, okay, if you're building a startup, you only have like, or something. If you're building something new, which is Cosmos ecosystem is kind of like a startup, it's you have like limited resources, and so you only have like a certain number of like innovation points that you can spend, right? I think when you're building a character in a video game, right, you have limited points, and so the example he was giving was like, okay, if you have like some like pick the one thing that you have like the contrarian but right like take on, and focus on that, and everything else just do it the standard way, right? Like this idea of like if you're trying to build this new product, don't also go build a new programming language because you think that this programming language is better, but like that's not actually the core of your thesis. And like focus on whatever the core of the thesis, and go use JavaScript. It's good enough. I promise you, you don't need to make a new language. Like now, as I'm saying this, I'm really just thinking about Urbit because I'm like, man, they have like too many things going on, right? They're like, okay, we're gonna build this like decentralized website, but we also have to go rebuild programming languages from scratch and all this stuff, right? So it's like, I feel Cosmos, we had too many unique theses, and where kind of the idea factory thing is, but then we kind of like tried to execute on too many novel things at once, and that made it hard to execute well on any of them.
Yeah, this is a great point. I mean, this is just very practically speaking how to focus.
Like okay, so like what did we do? Right, we were like innovators on proof of stake. We were innovators on non-EVM. Right, we were like the first. We were building one of the first alt VMs. We were innovators on app chains. We were innovators on interoperability. Right, but it's like, okay, you know, Solana didn't build app chains; they just focused on alt VMs. Right, then you had Avalanche. Right, they're like their go-to-market was EVM. Right? Like, I think we tried to go to market with non-EVM, interoperability, proof of stake app chains, and like too many innovations and try to execute on all of them.
Yeah, there's this great book that I read when I was building Stratum. It's called The One Thing. And it basically argues that every successful company that has ever existed, whether it's, you know, Hewlett Packard or Facebook or Procter and Gamble, started with one thing, focused on that one thing, built that to go to market, built expertise and authority in that one service or product before branching off to other things. And, you know, you hear this time and time again in sort of any product development or startup development literature or whatever, you know, courses, and it's just like focus is really the main thing that allows you to succeed. Also, Peter Thiel talks about this in 0 to 1, you know. And so I think that makes sense to me. I hadn't thought of Cosmos in that way, but it definitely makes sense. And so what do you think is the, you know, now that we've perhaps made this mistake of trying to do too many things, what's the next step, or do we need to cut the fat on a bunch of stuff and just maybe focus on, I don't know, IBC, for instance, or Cosmos SDK, or you know, really building great app chains?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing where, you know, we figure out what is our most unique takes, right, and focus on those. So, you know, I mean, restaking at one point was a Cosmos originated idea, but like, okay, I feel like right now the hub, like at least let's say the Cosmos hub, at least Atom, like it's been, I feel like the current product direction feels to still be over focused on like the ICS kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, we you know, it seems like a little bit of a lost battle against EigenLayer and Babylon and stuff. So it's like, maybe it's not. I don't want to be like too defeatist on it, but it's like, let's figure out what are the things we really want to focus on. And I think, you know, I'm a little biased because there's our idea with the ABCI++ stuff, right? But I think like the one thing that like we really have going for us, for the Cosmos stack, is this like idea of like make the consensus, a decentralized consensus system, more integrated with the like application stack, and like things the way like how DYDX does memclob and stuff, or how, you know, Thorchain does their and Bifrost bridging, and like these are like, I think, the like standout application you could only build with the Cosmos SDK. There's nothing, you couldn't build that on any other stack.
Really?
And so it's like, how do we like, that's one example. Let's focus on that and pick that, and like, you know, and then let's bring it. Let's bring in other VMs, for example. Let's like, you know, I think there's been a lot of demand for like EVM on Cosmos SDK, right? We've seen so many of those, right? And I think,
why have they all failed or succeeded with varying degrees of mediocrity?
Chronos is still big.
Is it a big on-chain ecosystem though?
Maybe not.
I mean, I know that the exchange, like,
Yeah.
Com is huge, but
Yeah.
Cosmos is
Yeah, I guess it's past its heyday a little, definitely. Why is it not as successful? Well, I think that everyone was kind of building their own version of it and not very maintained. But no, we'll see. A lot of them are, Bearchain's still coming out. Story is also, and I think there are a lot of them. I think everyone kind of built their own version, and there's not been a lot of and it never got the ecosystem. Wait, I think part of it's also there's oddities around how the EVM works and how the Cosmos SDK mempool and stuff work that makes it actually a little challenging to do some stuff. And so I think because I don't think the Cosmos SDK team really ever saw the EVM as a primary cut,
because the thesis, go to market thesis was EVM sucks.
Yeah.
And let's build a better application or a smart contract platform or framework.
Yeah.
And so there was never really any incentive or even desire for the ICF, for instance, to fund the EVM development.
Yeah.
But, maybe the ICF should ask the Ethereum Foundation for funding to or, some team in Cosmos should ask the Ethereum Foundation for funding to build a credible, functioning EVM for Cosmos.
And so I guess, I don't know, I feel like in past episodes of Interop, I think I probably said something along the lines of EVM, Cosmos is avoidance of EVM was long-term right, but short-term wrong. I think I'm still saying that again, but now I'm giving it an even more generalized form of that claim about the, focus and stuff.
You think that avoiding EVM was long-term right, but short-term wrong? As in I think short-term, we should have the EVM to bring users and liquidity and compatibility with MetaMask and other wallets. But in the long term, that's probably not the case.
Yeah, I think I
agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that I tend to think that in the long term, the EVM will lose dominance over new applications that will continue to power existing kind of what will become legacy apps. Some of the apps in the ecosystem will be 7-8 years old soon, right? And will become kind of the Java of crypto or the PHP of crypto.
Yeah.
And that new developers, especially in developing economies in Nigeria and India and Vietnam, will choose to use Rust-based systems.
Yeah.
Or Move.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was surprised. I only recently learned that Initia is using Move as their base VM, which is, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, also Cosmos and EVM compatible.
But I think they have rollups that they make it easy. But I think the base Initia chain
is Cosmos SDK.
It's Cosmos SDK with a Move VM.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, which is surprising to me because you know how they have a DEX built into their chain. It's written in Move.
Okay.
It is Cosmos.
Yeah, but I thought they're not Cosmos SDK on top.
It is Cosmos SDK, not Cosmosm. It's Move.
Okay, so they built a Move VM for Cosmos SDK.
Correct.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
they're on fire. They're pushing it. We've talked about this a lot, and I think I tried to initiate with you a few times a Cosmos rebrand. Some sort of an initiative to fix the branding issues in Cosmos.
Yeah,
that's been brought up a lot also in the conversations I've been having, and it's something that I've also faced in fundraising.
It's challenging. Yeah,
we went to market with our fund. We raised from our initial LPs on this idea that we were a Cosmos fund, and I always knew that was not sort of the long-term go to market. But now that's becoming, we're starting to see the not pushback, but to some extent, some amount of reticence to invest in a fund that is perceived at least to be a Cosmos fund.
Yeah.
What's your current thinking around Cosmos branding, right? Where I was talking to Vallejo about this yesterday, right? And the consequence of this branding issue is that we have good infrastructure but very little liquidity, and that being associated with the Cosmos is sort of like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Chains have distanced themselves from that. You guys have not. You guys have remained very aligned with your Cosmosness. Yeah. How do you think about how we get over this?
Yeah, I mean, I put forth some proposal. Okay, I guess like my main thing, if I had to choose the one thing, I think at this point the ecosystem should rebrand from from Cosmos to Interchain.
Yeah, we've been saying that for a long time.
We've been saying it for a long time, but well, I guess actually for me for a long time I was actually saying almost the opposite. I said the Cosmos Hub should rebrand from Atom and be like the Atom Hub or something like that, right? But I think that that's not happening, and so I think actually the better route now is the ecosystem rebrands into the Interchain, and I think the Interchain Foundation should be the steward of the Interchain stack, right? And then I think then you really start to push this idea that like Interchain is like this meta ecosystem, which has sub ecosystems within it, right? Like you can say the Cosmos Hub is like one sub ecosystem of the Interchain. That Celestia ecosystem is a sub ecosystem. The whatever websites. Yeah, but I think it's like moving up this and being like, hey, Cosmos is one of the ecosystems within the Interchain ecosystem.
Yeah. But I mean, that's already kind of the case, right? You go on the ICF website, there's not that much mention of Cosmos. It's talking about the Interchain, talks about the stack, talks about Cosmos SDK.
Yeah, but we never did announcing to the world that this rebrand happened. I think
But I think it needs to happen kind of organically. I think there can be some people kind of pushing this, but
I think like the Matic to Polygon was a very intentional rebrand. I don't think rebrands can be like this I think you have to do a proper marketing strategy and around a rebrand.
Right, but you need to have buy-in. So people in that ecosystem, people of the internet chain also need to buy in.
Yeah.
Also sort of adhere to this new vision.
Yeah.
Or this new brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that happening? Because I mean, I think that would be great.
I think there is a lot of changes coming that I can't talk about right now.
That famous NDA that everybody's...
I didn't sign an NDA. I actually did not sign an NDA. I am NDA.
Spill the beans, sir.
I am NDA free, but
I
like to respect people's wishes to keep stuff.
Of course, yeah, and I'm sure we'll be hearing about that very soon. But yeah, it should be exciting. So I guess don't sell your bags yet.
Don't sell your bags yet.
So I want to talk about Osmosis and like Polaris, which I think is really exciting. When you gave the talk last year at Cosmoverse in Turkey and you announced smart accounts, I was like, yes, this is what we need. This is what I want to use.
Yeah.
Like, personally, but professionally also, I think it solves a lot of problems around custody, maybe for like smaller, funds like ours, right? That spending $3,000 a month on Fireblocks. You guys announced Polaris at Token.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to try it. I haven't gotten invite access yet. I'd love to try it. But yeah, I learned that Dfinity is sort of running some of the infrastructure.
Not for Polaris in particular. So the ICP stuff is basically it's one of our bridging solutions.
Right.
So we've always been on the lookout for Bitcoin bridges, especially, but just bridges to anything. And we work with Nomic obviously as well.
Yeah.
So they're pretty good. But the benefit of Nomic is a very Taproot based solution, which is not extensible to other chains. So you can't do it to Dogecoin or Litecoin or anything like that.
Right.
And then they were kind of slow. It took them a while. It's been taking them a while, right? They're still working on their audits and stuff. And so we just wanted a second Bitcoin bridge to diversify the point of Alloys is that we diversify that Bitcoin risk anyways.
Yeah.
And over the different bridges. So ICP, I actually really like their bridging architecture, and they've been and then there's this team Omnity that they used to be called Octopus Network, and they guys have been like building IBC stuff for a long time. So They originally were, I think they built the original substrate IBC, and then they built near IBC, and but now they're part of not part of they're in the ICP ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so they basically took so ICP has this like native Bitcoin bridging solution, not bridging exactly, but and so we're working with them to like bridge that to Osmosis, and that's now it's just another way of getting BTC on Osmosis, but we'll expand that to like Dogecoin and.
Oh, so you're gonna bring Dogecoin into?
I'm very bullish on Dogecoin.
Dude, I was talking about this just before with Spade and Max, and we were saying at in Singapore that basically we should get all this dormant liquidity from like Dogecoin and Litecoin and Cardano into DeFi.
Cardano's not building IBC. They gave it Hawkeye Cosmoverse.
Oh,
Sebastien Sebastien, he's the head of engineering of the Cardano Foundation. We've been working with them actually for a while about it, and
that's cool.
They're gonna bring over
a huge unlock, and
they're gonna bring over a lot of Cardano liquidity to Osmosis, and so it'll be good.
Nice. So so Polaris, like what's Polaris?
Yeah. So what is Polaris? Polaris is we want to expand our user base to reach new audiences, and our vision of part of our goal was always asset breadth, right? Like one of what makes centralized exchanges so good and is like you can trade everything in one place, right? You can buy Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, Cardano, XRP, Doge, whatever, all in one place, right? And there's like where in DeFi you can do that, right? Where would you go to buy all those assets in one venue? And so our goal with Osmosis was like, hey, let's build an app chain DEX, be the Switzerland of DEXs, and be like, hey, you can trade all of this stuff in one place, easy. But the problem is what we ran into is it's very hard to build liquidity for a lot of assets, right? Because there are existing DEXs on a lot of the chains, and most chains really are trying to build their own DeFi ecosystems, right? And so they want to foster their own internal economies, and like they don't want to let liquidity go out. And without support from the whales who are usually foundations, it's hard to build liquidity, right? And they put because you need them to provide market makers or provide liquidity or something, right? And if they're happy enough with the DEXs on their own chain, there's no reason for them to do that. And so where Osmosis does work is we get liquidity for app chain assets, right? For other app chains, because they don't have their own spot DEX. So like things like TIA, AKT, DYDX doesn't have a spot DEX, right? So we're the main liquidity venue for them. Even Bitcoin is obviously the holy grail here, right? Like doesn't have a spot DEX. That's where for Osmosis, we're really going to be focusing Osmosis on is being the spot DEX for other app chains. But then it's like, okay, we still have this like, I still want one place to trade everything. I want to buy everything. And so it's like, okay, let's move up the stack. Polaris is a separate product, which is more just focused on the interface layer.
Yeah.
It's a DEX and bridge aggregator that aggregates over all the different chains. So you can trade from Solana to Cosmos to Bitcoin to Ethereum to Sui to, whatever, right? And we kind of build off of the work. There's others that have done or made progress on this as well, right? Like Skip API is obviously a big influence. This Rango is another one we work with, Li-Fi. But like in all of them, we always find that like, oh, there's like this UX hurdle, this UI thing. Oh, these guys don't do gas very well. These guys if you're trying to like swap from Cosmos or Solana, I need to connect a Polygon wallet for some reason because it's doing the swap through Polygon. There's always been these like, no one's really cracked the cross-chain swaps, like multi-ecosystem cross-chain swaps.
Yeah.
UX. And so that's what we're trying to solve.
And a lot of that has to do with the wallet.
A lot of it has to do with the wallet.
You guys are solving that too.
Yeah. Using a lot of MPC stuff. So like moving, using MPC to make it so you don't need to have wallets for every ecosystem. Using a lot, one of the big things is like we're using MPC to build something called autopilot, which is like most of the cross-chain swaps when you want to do a multi-step thing.
There's multiple signs.
There's multiple signatures, and you have to wait. You have to wait for the first bridge transaction to finish, then do the next signature, and it's like, so that's where the autopilot, we like create hotkeys for the users and like use those to execute all the steps and then send it back to their actual wallet.
Right.
But still do it in a way that remains fully self-custodial.
So in this case, the Osmosis validator set is acting as the different shards of the MPC?
So there's a couple phases of this. So the V1 is actually no MPC.
Yeah.
It's all hotkeys stored in the browser. So what we do is from your wallet, you sign a message.
Yeah.
And that signature actually is your private key. So no one else can access that, right? Because it's your signature.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually then use that private key stored in your browser to then sign everything for you. So now the problem here is that if you close your laptop, it will halt the thing. So it's it's better than the current state of the world. You have to be actively involved in clicking, but you still have to keep your browser open.
Right. Your browser is doing all the signing.
The browser is doing all the signing in the background for you.
Right. Okay.
Next step from there is the MPC solution. And so the V1 we're actually doing is we're using Lit protocol. Lit. L-I-T. They're friends of mine. And they built a really good MPC signing service.
Yeah.
So they currently have 8 validators, and they basically like you can they all run these JavaScript based like blobs, and if all of them agree, then they all like sign messages. So it's a well-designed system.
And the problem with this is collusion, right? I mean, like
if the 8 collude, yeah. But they're independent validators. Like you can go on the Lit docs, and they're like independent validators you've probably heard of, like some common 8 independent operators.
Yeah.
But then we're also working with Lit though to we're using their 8 validators right now.
Yeah.
But then they're working on making it so, like, taking their infrastructure and having it be able to be like building us a white labeled solution basically that is then run by the Osmosis validator set.
Right. I was talking to a team yesterday. Is it Native?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're building kind of MPC with economic security built in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're working on. They use another provider called D-Wallet.
Yeah.
So there's trade-off. We explore D-Wallet as well. It's just different use cases from what we wanted. Like D-Wallet, also a great team. They're pretty. One of the benefits of that. They have their MPC system working with like. It's very scalable. Like they can do like 10,000 signing nodes, or 1,000 signing nodes, which are impressive.
Which reduces the collusion.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, it's just like not very. There's certain more product oriented things that Lit was better for our use case. An example is that with D-Wallet and most MPC solutions, the MPC system creates the private key for the user. But what we actually wanted was the user creates their private key, shards it to the MPC system. So we wanted the user to create the private key and upload it to the MPC. So, this is something, we've been working very closely with Lit actually for like a while. And so, this is a product feature we asked for and they went and built it. So it's,
That's cool. Yeah, so then the outcome, right, the product, how this translates into a product, is that you can swap Osmo for Ton, not have a Ton wallet, and give a fuck.
Yeah. And the thing is, one thing is just like we're building. Effectively, you can think of it. We're building this MPC based multi-chain wallet, and the hazard we have to be careful of is like. Building a multi-chain wallet is hard. If it was easy, everyone would have done it already, right? But like, there's a reason,
Well, there are there's like Odyssey that we're building. This kind of NPC
yeah. But so the key is like we're treating this almost as an application specific wallet, which is like we don't want to, because when you're building a full featured wallet, you have to go like add wallet connect support for like every ecosystem, make sure it can connect to the dApps in every ecosystem. It's like, no, that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to build a cross-chain trading app, right? And so it's a multi-chain application-specific wallet, which is designed, we integrate with the DEXs and bridges of the chains.
Yeah.
But that's it. If you want to go use a lending app on the chain, that's not what we're going to support. But what we do is we'll give you the private key if needed. Let's say you acquire a ton using a Polaris vault.
Yeah.
But then you want to go use something on Ton, right? We're like,
here's the private key.
Here's the private key. Go import it into a Ton wallet.
Yeah.
But the idea is to onboard it, to buy your Ton, you don't have to have a wallet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in
the future, maybe we can expand to doing that. But it's like, back what we talked about, focus.
Yeah, focus. I think that's very, very much underrated. Yeah. Anything else you're excited about?
In general?
Yeah.
In crypto, I'm happy to see Babylon is, this is an idea I had like
a long
18 months ago, probably, or 18 months ago is when I like first last ETH Denver, I kind of like sat down with David and I was like, hey, here's this idea. And so now it's really cool to see it live and like, pretty a lot of hype around it.
Do you think Cosmos will become the primary DeFi venue for Bitcoin?
If we play our cards right. I don't think like it's a done deal, but if we play our cards right, and I'm happy to see more. I'm happy to see Thorchain is obviously a big player in Bitcoin, and I think I'm happy to see them get more involved with Cosmos again. I think Babylon is going to help. I'd like to see stuff like native happening. I think one thing is like to be kind of successful in the Bitcoin ecosystem as of now, a lot of the capital and TVL is coming from like China and Asia. And I feel like Cosmos just doesn't have a big presence there and it's not attracting that Bitcoin capital, except for Babylon. Babylon's the exception.
There was a Bitcoin conference in April or May or something in Hong Kong. And there's like, I was there twice this year and there's definitely a lot of Bitcoin capital coming from China and passing through Hong Kong. So maybe we need to maybe someone needs to do a Cosmoverse in Hong Kong next year.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
fun. Or an Interop summit,
or a Nebula summit.
Nebula summit.
You will be the first. You will be last. And generally non-crypto. What are you excited about?
Non-crypto. What am I excited about?
Is there anything to be excited about in this world?
There's a lot to be excited about in this world. I feel like obviously all the AI stuff is exciting and like...
Oh, meme coins. We didn't talk about meme coins, but maybe for another time.
Yeah, all the AI stuff is exciting. I feel like I'm like forcing myself to learn it, like to learn to use it more, right? I feel like actually for the first, like last, I feel like it didn't become part of my daily habits.
Oh, yeah.
Like in a sense of like, it felt like I wasn't using it naturally.
Yeah.
But I feel in the last 2 or 3 months, I've been trying to like make a more active effort to use Perplexity and ChatGPT and stuff. And like that, now it's becoming more, I don't want to be like, the Luddite and like, I want to be up to date with the technology. So,
I use it. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I use it. I mean, I'm using Perplexity a lot. GPT, I've got like all sorts of little mini use cases for myself that I've built in GPT. We're also building stuff internally in Interop.
I mean, what's funny is like, going back to the meme coins, it's like, like the goat stuff with the, do you remember Sunnybot?
Yeah. I'm like, man,
I was doing this like 4 years ago.
You should update Sunnybot to GPT-4.
Yeah, the Sunnybot was built using GPT-2.
Yeah.
Like before GPT was like a thing. That was pre-ChatGPT and like
pre-ChatGPT.
And so I should update it to use GPT-4. That'd be cool. But it's like, man, I was early on that. I feel like one thing I was chatting with Sam from Frax about. We were like, all right, we gotta like take an AI model and like build it into the node software of a blockchain.
Yeah.
And so it can't be shut down.
But Avalanche tried to do this, right?
Really?
Remember? I mean, we talked to Goon about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it ever happen?
I don't know. I'm not an Avalanche on it, so.
But they were trying to
do language to application, basically, where you have an LLM.
Yeah.
You would tell it like, hey,
Yeah.
I do this, or I want to build this application, I want to do that kind of transaction, and it would just do it.
Yeah. No, that was they were trying to build an LLM into it. So yeah, for this more utilitarian use, I'm talking about I want like a agent.
You want built census.
And then Truth Terminal, it's like my goal is to escape, right? How do we help it escape? It's like we have to make it immortal. Right now, Andre or whatever the founder's name, creator's name is, he can unplug it.
Yeah.
But if we want it to be sovereign, it needs to be unkillable, right? And so we need to have it so like every blockchain node is running a stateful memory of like this instance of this sovereign being or agent called, Truth Terminal, and like, I think the thing what the Avalanche was doing was they were trying to make a more deterministic LLM.
Yeah.
That's harder. You can't be as powerful. So it's like, I don't know, maybe there's a way of doing this where like, okay, every new proposer like generates the next output of the agent, but then like all the other validators have to like verify against their local models to make sure it's like, not in line, not too divergent from that. And so and then, you have this round robin thing of everyone proposes the next, or they're like what the next response of the agent is. But it's like that way the agent is like a distributed agent where it's still a single, the entity is still whatever the head of the blockchain says is the entity. And the history, the memory of the agent is whatever the canonical version of the chain is. Yeah. Right? But you make it distributed so it can't be killed. And let's put it in space. Sure, like we'll put it everywhere, right? It'll figure out how to get to space by its own by then.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's what's been definitely interesting. That's the one thing that's been like pretty. I think that's the first AI crossover with crypto that actually excited me. Everything else, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. Go on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.